Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we take a stack of fascinating sources and really dig into them to unearth the most compelling insights, all custom tailored for you, our curious listener. Today we're plunging into the captivating, often enigmatic world of ancient Egypt. It's a land synonymous with pharaohs, colossal pyramids, and a history so rich. Well, many of its most powerful figures remain shrouded in mystery, their true impacts still debated.
Indeed. And we're talking about a civilization that thrived for millennia, leaving behind this incredible legacy in stone and papyrus, yet so many stories are still incomplete or maybe even deliberately obscured. And what's truly remarkable, I think, is that it wasn't just the kings. Some of the most influential individuals, the ones who shaped destiny, were queens. And their true power, their often tragic legacies, are only now really coming to light.
Yeah, that's where our central question for this deep dive kind of emerges. What do we truly know about Egypt's most powerful queens? And maybe even more canalizing, what secrets do their lost resting places still hold? I mean, think about it. So many of these monumental figures, women who wielded immense political, economic, even divine power, they've been all but lost to the sands of time.
And that's precisely our mission today. We're going to embark on, well, an unparalleled journey, unpacking the lives, the sheer audacity of their power, and the enduring mysteries of several iconic Egyptian queens. We'll pay particular attention to Cleopatra, the last pharaoh, and really delve into the cutting-edge archaeological efforts currently underway to find her elusive tomb.
The sources we've brought together for you are honestly a fantastic mix that really allows us to stitch together this complex tapestry. We've got ancient historical accounts, the Roman and Greek perspectives, sometimes biased, sometimes revealing. But what's really thrilling are the archaeological documentaries. They don't just recount history, they bring the past to life, almost in real time, showcasing the visceral excitement of new discoveries happening right now, sometimes changing our understanding of these queens overnight. It's like being on the dig with them, dust and all.
Exactly. It's that blend of traditional written history, which, let's face it, often comes with its own agenda, and the irrefutable, tangible evidence unearthed by archaeologists that makes these stories so compelling. Archaeology isn't just about digging, it's a dynamic, ongoing process of rewriting history, piece by painstaking piece, as new facts emerge from the ground. And yeah, often challenging long-held assumptions.
Okay, with that complex political backdrop established, let's now plunge into the life of a queen whose name is just synonymous with ancient Egypt, yet whose true story remains, well, remarkably obscured. Cleopatra. Her very name evokes so much, right? Legendary beauty, tragic romance. But her actual reign as a shrewd strategist and formidable politician is often overshadowed by these later, less accurate narratives.
To truly understand Cleopatra, we have to go back to 48 BCE. It was a period of intense instability, civil strife in Egypt. The Ptolemaic dynasty, which Cleopatra belonged to, had been ruling Egypt for nearly 300 years, since Alexander the Great's time. But by Cleopatra's era, the kingdom was weakened by internal power struggles and, increasingly drawn into Rome's burgeoning imperial ambitions. At this specific moment, her younger brother and co-regent, Ptolemy XIII, had claimed the throne, pushed her out, and the kingdom had descended into a bitter civil war. It was against this chaotic backdrop that Rome's troops, led by the formidable Julius Caesar, occupied Alexandria, ostensibly to restore order, but very much with an eye on Egypt's immense wealth and strategic importance.
Right, and this is where her legendary bold gamble comes in, isn't it? The story of her being smuggled into Caesar's chambers in Alexandria in the dead of night, famously rolled up in a rug or a laundry sack. It's the stuff of Hollywood legend, a really dramatic scene that captures the imagination. But what was the true genius behind that calculated political maneuver? It wasn't just about seduction, was it?
Precisely. To focus solely on the seduction aspect is, frankly, to miss the profound political acumen at play. It was, first and foremost, a meticulously calculated political maneuver, a high-stakes gamble for her life and her throne. Cleopatra understood that direct confrontation with Caesar, who commanded Roman legions, was suicidal. Her only path was direct diplomacy, to bypass her brother's faction and appeal directly to the most powerful man in the Roman world. Her secret entry ensured she controlled the narrative from the very first moment, presenting herself as the rightful ruler, wronged and besieged. And look, it was a mutually beneficial alliance. Cleopatra regained her throne, secured Egypt's continued nominal independence from Rome, at least for the moment, and gained a powerful Roman ally whose military might could crush her internal rivals. For Caesar, the alliance gave him essential ships, Egypt's vast grain supply vital for feeding his armies and the Roman populace, and significant financial resources to finance his ongoing wars and conquests, particularly directly against Pompey.
So the alliance with Caesar wasn't just a personal triumph. It seems to have had immediate, tangible benefits for Egypt as a whole. What did that stability actually look like on the ground once Caesar departed?
Oh, it's incredibly positive for Egypt, initially. When Caesar finally departed Egypt in 47 BCE to address other military challenges, he left behind a kingdom far more stable and prosperous than it had been in decades. This immediate transformation was a clear testament to Cleopatra's strategic success and her ability to capitalize on the restored order. She moved swiftly, decisively to consolidate her authority. Provincial governors, local officials who'd previously wavered or even opposed her during the Civil War, now hastened to demonstrate their loyalty. Even the Egyptian priesthood, always a powerful political force, deeply sensitive to political changes and divine favor, they celebrated the restoration of stability. They saw it as the pharaoh's obvious divine favor, demonstrated by her powerful foreign ally. It lent her reign an immediate, almost sacred legitimacy.
And beyond just securing her power base, she also initiated significant internal reforms, correct? The sources really highlight her administrative and economic achievements right after Caesar's departure.
They absolutely do. She wasn't merely a figurehead, not at all. Cleopatra implemented comprehensive agricultural reforms designed to increase crop yields dramatically and, crucially, improve the lives of the farming communities along the Fertile Nile. She understood that Egypt's wealth was fundamentally tied to its agricultural productivity. Beyond that, she invested heavily in critical infrastructure projects, irrigation systems, improved roads, canals, all designed to enhance trade and communication throughout the kingdom, facilitating the movement of goods and information. And, in a testament to her vision for Egypt's cultural prominence, she vigorously supported existing cultural and educational institutions, most notably the legendary Library of Alexandria and the Moushan.
So these weren't just practical investments, but cultural ones too, maintaining Egypt's standing in the ancient world.
Precisely. Those investments maintained Egypt's reputation as the preeminent center of learning, scholarship, artistic achievement throughout the entire Mediterranean world. Her initial success with Caesar and the subsequent prosperity and stability she brought rapidly established Cleopatra's reputation among rulers and politicians across the Mediterranean. She was recognized as a leader of exceptional ability and determination, possessing the intelligence, courage, and diplomatic skill needed to protect her kingdom's interests in an increasingly dangerous Roman-dominated world. She was clearly a force to be reckoned with.
It's clear then that she starts out as this incredibly effective, powerful leader, actively working for the prosperity of her people. But then somewhere along the line, the narrative shifts dramatically, doesn't it? She goes from being this brilliant politician and astute ruler to being largely remembered as this man-killing seductress. How did that transformation in her historical image happen? And what does it tell us about how powerful women are often perceived and recorded?
Well, that pernicious shift began remarkably early in her relationship with Caesar, largely driven by Roman perception, specifically among Caesar's political enemies and conservative senators. In 46 BCE, Caesar, perhaps intending to honor her, or maybe just subtly underscore his own power, commissioned a golden statue of the goddess Isis. But crucially, with Cleopatra's very recognizable face, and he placed it prominently in Venus's temple in Rome. This act, publicly acknowledging a foreign monarch, associating her with a Roman deity, it absolutely infuriated the Roman Senate. Cicero, a powerful Roman senator, one of Caesar's most vocal adversaries, famously wrote in a letter, "Runum odii," which translates chillingly to "I hate the queen," referring to Cleopatra. This wasn't just personal dislike. It was a deep-seated fear and resentment of her influence over Caesar and the perceived threat she posed to Roman values and order.
So even while Caesar was alive, she was already sparking outrage. But after Caesar's assassination in 44 BCE, that negative portrayal just exploded, didn't it? Roman historians, particularly those writing decades later with a vested interest in portraying her negatively to discredit her Roman lovers, they painted her as this man-killing seductress, lustful, manipulative, often called her a royal whore. It's an image that has stuck for millennia.
It did, and it became incredibly pervasive, largely dominating how she's been depicted through centuries, often like a character in a sensational Hollywood movie rather than a complex historical figure. Yet, if you carefully examine her actual actions immediately after Caesar's death, a period when Rome was once again consumed by its own civil wars, she was far more rational, calculating, and level-headed than that scandalous image suggests. Her priorities were Egypt's stability and the perpetuation of her dynasty.
What's truly fascinating here is that while Rome was consumed by renewed civil strife after Caesar's murder, with powerful figures like Octavian, Antony, Lepidus vying for control. Cleopatra was methodically consolidating her power back home in Egypt. Her younger brother and co-regent, Ptolemy III, died under mysterious circumstances, widely rumored to be poisoned by her agents. This move, ruthless as it was, cleared her path to sole rule, eliminating a rival who could be used by Rome against her. She then immediately elevated her 3-year-old son, Caesarion, whose paternity linked him to Julius Caesar, as co-ruler, shrewdly ensuring the dynastic succession and lending legitimacy to her rule through his connection to Rome's greatest general.
And her reforms during this period speak volumes. She implemented broad administrative reforms aimed at streamlining governance and, crucially, reduced taxes on the Egyptian populace, alleviating economic hardship. We even have direct evidence, a royal decree from her reign specifically addressing a famine, mandating efficient grain distribution, while crucially banning officials from taking farmers from their fields, ensuring they could continue their vital work. This document, when you compare it with the sensationalized literary sources, portrays her as a very rational and level-headed ruler, deeply concerned with her kingdom's welfare, not simply the reckless seductress portrayed by her Roman detractors.
It seems then that her exceptional ability to assert herself in a world utterly dominated by men, coupled with her strategic political relationships with powerful Roman figures, contributed directly to her demonization. Her story, even with all its later distortions, continues to show how powerful women can be. And precisely because she was such a complete and empowered woman, intellectually, politically, personally, she often got dismissed and demonized throughout history. It's a pattern we see repeated, isn't it?
It absolutely raises an important question for us to consider, not just about Cleopatra, but about the broader tapestry of history. How many other powerful women from antiquity have had their legacies twisted, minimized, or simply erased by those who controlled the historical narrative, often with a clear agenda? And what does that tell us about the biases embedded in the very history we consume?
Speaking of mysteries and hidden legacies, if Cleopatra was this powerful queen, deeply invested in Egyptian religious traditions, even considered herself the living embodiment of the goddess Isis,
it stands to reason she would have planned an extraordinary burial, a final resting place worthy of her divine status, perhaps even a secret one, far from Roman eyes. And that brings us to the remarkable, decades-long endeavor of one woman, Kathleen Martinez. Kathleen Martinez, yes. She's a Dominican archaeologist, not a traditional Egyptologist, which makes her story even more compelling, I think. She famously abandoned a successful law career to dedicate her entire life to what many considered a quixotic quest, finding Cleopatra's tomb. She's driven by this unwavering belief that Cleopatra, seeing herself as the goddess Isis reborn on Earth, would have meticulously planned a secret, perhaps even hidden burial beneath the sacred temple, ensuring her passage to the afterlife and protecting her remains from her enemies. It's a deep personal conviction that guides her entire excavation.
and her initial approach was incredibly methodical. She meticulously investigated, 21 possible burial sites across Egypt after studying countless ancient texts and maps. But only one truly stood out for her, Taposiris Magna. It's a ruined temple complex about 40 kilometers west of Alexandria, located strategically on a ridge overlooking the Mediterranean. Why there, specifically? What made it so special?
Well, the name itself, Taposiris Magna, is incredibly evocative. It translates to the Great Tomb of Osiris. Osiris, the god of the afterlife, was intrinsically linked to Isis, his consort, and the mother of Horus. Ancient texts often referred to this site, highlighting its sacred significance and its deep connections to Isis worship. Kathleen was convinced that if Cleopatra, as the human representation of goddess Isis, had the opportunity to choose a burial place, she would choose this site. She believed it was the most important religious temple for Isis in northern Egypt, and thus the most fitting divine location for a queen who identified so strongly with the goddess. It wasn't just a hunch, it was a deeply researched hypothesis, rooted in her understanding of Cleopatra's religious beliefs and political savvy.
And she started finding things almost immediately that lent incredibly strong support to her theory, didn't she? Like small Greek tablets, what archaeologists call foundation plates, ritual deposits marking the start of construction. These specific plates referred to King Ptolemy and the temple's explicit dedication to Isis, which was significant because it suggested previous historical accounts about the site's primary dedication were incorrect or incomplete.
Yes, these foundation plates were invaluable. And then, in the rubble of an Isis shrine within the complex, her team made another astonishing find. Over 200 bronze coins, small but highly significant, all bearing Cleopatra's image. To find that many coins bearing her likeness, rather than just Roman emperors, provided incredibly tangible proof of the site's importance during her reign. They also unearthed the head of a small, exquisitely carved statue of Cleopatra, further cementing the site's direct connection to her. These were incredibly tantalizing links, pieces of a puzzle that, when put together, strongly indicated the site's deep significance during Cleopatra's lifetime.
Okay, these initial finds really cemented the Taposiris Magna hypothesis for Kathleen, giving her and her team the conviction to continue. So, beyond these early tantalizing clues, what were some of the other key discoveries of Taposiris Magna that really got the wider archaeological community excited and helped validate her approach and vision?
Well, one of the earliest and most dramatic breakthroughs was the discovery of a mysterious depression in the ground not far from the north gate of the temple. When the team began the arduous work of clearing away centuries of sand and debris from this depression, a small, dark hole unexpectedly opened up. This wasn't just a pit. It revealed a deep shaft descending 5 meters underground, which then branched off into 2 hidden painted chambers. It was an astonishing find, a subterranean level overlooked by all previous professional archaeological digs at the site, hinting at a hidden world beneath.
And these chambers, they believed, might have been used for priestly rituals. Regardless of their exact purpose, that discovery must have been crucial for her. It secured her permit extension, right? Which was vital, and she was literally about to run out of time on her initial, highly scrutinized 8-week dig.
It was absolutely critical. That unexpected discovery validated her persistence in the eyes of the Egyptian authorities and bought her more time, which in archaeology is always the most precious commodity. Beyond those chambers, they also unearthed incredibly rare foundation deposits. These were not just any objects. They were carefully arranged caches of clay and semi-precious stones, including lapis lazuli and turquoise, placed ritualistically during the temple's construction. Crucially, they contained legible Greek inscriptions that referred explicitly to King Ptolemy, establishing a direct historical timeline. These artifacts were incredibly important because they unequivocally mark the temple's inauguration and provide direct, undeniable information about precisely when the temple was first built and who commissioned it. This added another layer of definitive historical data.
And then came the tunnels. I remember hearing about the discovery of 2 secret passageways leading deep underground, expertly chiseled out of the bedrock. They sound like something out of an adventure movie.
They absolutely do, and the reality is no less dramatic. These secret passageways, meticulously carved through solid rock, indicated a monumental effort in their construction. This wasn't incidental. The scale and precision of the engineering suggested they were designed to hide or protect something of immense significance. Kathleen, of course, hoped one of them might lead directly to a hidden tomb, perhaps even Cleopatra's. Along these extensive passageways, they also found more vertical shafts leading down from the surface, further hinting at a deeper, more intricate network of tunnels and chambers beneath the temple, a veritable subterranean labyrinth.
Then there was the Isis stele, another pivotal find. Tell us about that.
Yes, the Isis stele. A profoundly significant discovery. This large stone slab dates from the reign of Ptolemy V, predating the famous Rosetta Stone by 2 years. Its inscription was a direct, irrefutable confirmation. It proved that Taposiris Magna was not just a temple, but a major, vibrant religious center specifically dedicated to Isis worship, and that the land immediately surrounding it was considered profoundly sacred. This reinforces the site's immense religious importance and its direct, undeniable link to the very goddess Cleopatra claimed to embody. It amplified the likelihood that a ruler so devout, so identified with Isis, would choose this specific location for her eternal rest.
Beyond the temple structures themselves, Kathleen and her team also found something even more extensive, an entire necropolis. What did the burials within this ancient graveyard reveal?
Right. About 500 meters east of the temple, near an ancient monument shaped rather like a lighthouse, Kathleen spotted unexplained sunken areas in the desert floor. These weren't natural depressions. They were telltale signs of disturbances, leading to chambers cut deep into the bedrock tombs. They proceeded to unearth a number of mummies from these chambers, some remarkably intact, others disturbed by ancient robbers. Many of these mummies had very specific indicators of status. Some were found with gold-encrusted skulls and the presence of elaborate sarcophagi. These elements clearly indicated the considerable wealth and high status of the individuals buried there. This was not a common burial ground.
And the quality of mummification offered a crucial clue about the time frame, didn't it?
It did. It's a very interesting detail for dating. During the later Ptolemaic and early Roman period, the quality of the internal mummification process, the preservation of the organs and tissues, often declined. However, to compensate for this, there was an increased emphasis on external decoration, more oils, more resins poured over the bodies, and especially elaborate wrapping or even the use of gold. This characteristic, poor quality internal mummification at Taposiris Magna, combined with the external opulence, strongly suggests the burials date directly from Cleopatra's time, or very close to it. Being buried so close to the temples of Isis and Osiris would have made it a highly auspicious and profoundly holy place, where elite individuals and even royalty wanted to be buried because it was believed to offer a straight shot to eternity, a direct path to the divine afterlife.
And she also found burials in the fetal position, adorned with jewelry, which further strengthened the case for the site's importance during Cleopatra's era. These wealthy burials, precisely dated to the very end of the Ptolemaic period, really suggest the possibility of royalty, or at least people who were part of Cleopatra's inner circle.
Right.
Individuals who knew her personally and shared her world.
Exactly. What's truly fascinating here is how these seemingly disparate pieces of evidence of the temple's name and history, the artifacts like coins and statues, the stele proving its deep religious significance, and finally, the nature and dating of the burials all converge powerfully to support Kathleen's hypothesis. It's a testament to rigorous archaeological deduction.
Of course, archaeological digs are never easy. This isn't just about discovery, it's about endurance. Kathleen Martinez's decades-long endeavor has faced some significant logistical hurdles and, indeed, constant dangers. What are some of the most striking challenges they've overcome?
Oh, the reality of excavation is far from the romanticized images we often have. It's incredibly hard, often backbreaking work. Time pressure is absolutely constant, with permits often expiring just when a breakthrough seems imminent, forcing teams to race against the clock. They've faced truly dangerous descents into shafts, some as deep as an 8-story building, relying on makeshift, often suicidal ladders that literally required a blacksmith on site to extend and reinforce them daily. It's a job where archaeologists literally risk their lives every single day. Environmental factors are also a huge challenge. Unprecedented storms, torrential rains, particularly in the northern Egyptian delta, have frequently flooded lower chambers, threatening carefully excavated human remains, delicate artifacts, turning the methodical process into frantic rescue archaeology to salvage what they can before it's lost to water damage.
And the hazards aren't just from the weather. I heard about snakes. That sounds like something straight out of an adventure movie.
It's no exaggeration. The deeper shafts and tunnels were notoriously full of snakes, including highly venomous species. The team had to rely on traditional methods, including specific Bedouin herbs, to ward off these reptiles, a constant reminder of the very real and immediate dangers of working in these ancient, undisturbed spaces. On top of that, working deep underground means limited oxygen in the narrow, deep tunnels. This severely slows excavation to a mere 5 meters a day, sometimes even less. It makes the entire process incredibly slow, arduous, and physically demanding. A testament to the team's incredible dedication.
But technology has certainly provided some breakthroughs, allowing them to probe where humans can't, correct, like ground-penetrating radar.
Indeed, modern technology is increasingly vital, helping archaeologists work smarter and safer. They've extensively used ground-penetrating radar, or GPR, which functions like an underground sonar. It fires radio wave pulses into the ground, and by analyzing the echoes, it can accurately sound out hidden cavities, voids, even detect changes in soil density that might indicate buried structures or tunnels. And a crucial breakthrough came with the use of geophones. Mohammed Gamal, a specialist, utilized ultra-sensitive equipment to record the minuscule vibrations caused by microtremors in the Earth's crust. By triangulating these sounds, they could create a remarkably detailed subterranean map that revealed not just cracks, but significant voids and potential hidden chambers beneath the temple.
And this technology ultimately confirmed a large chamber-sized void and, crucially, a hidden entrance in the guard room, room number 2, within the temple complex. That must have been an incredibly exciting moment for Kathleen.
It was, by her own account, one of the happiest days of her life. It provided unequivocal scientific evidence for her long-held theory, transforming her conviction from a hypothesis into a provable fact, giving her precise locations and depths to excavate. This really highlights the powerful integration of modern technology with traditional archaeological methods, allowing them to confirm what intuition and ancient texts had suggested.
Beyond Cleopatra, the Taposiris Magna necropolis yielded some truly unique finds that speak volumes about ancient Egyptian beliefs. A man with a golden tongue, for instance. That's quite striking.
It is truly striking, isn't it? And it speaks to the elaborate and profound beliefs surrounding the afterlife. They discovered a man buried with a meticulously crafted 22-karat gold tongue in his mouth. The prevailing interpretation is that this wasn't just decorative, it was a ritualistic act meant to allow the deceased to speak, to answer questions from the gods, to recite necessary spells, and to articulate their needs and desires in the afterlife. It ensured their ability to communicate and navigate the divine realm quite literally for eternity. Another incredibly unusual discovery from this site was a mummified man whose feet had been cleanly cut off, yet he was still mummified. Kathleen suggested this might have been a severe punishment during his lifetime, but the very act of mummification, a costly and sacred ritual, indicates that despite such a punishment, he was still afforded respect in death. Perhaps as a powerful family member or someone of significant, albeit complex, status.
So a complex scenario of both brutal punishment and then somehow reverence in death. They also found a beautifully preserved offering table, didn't they?
They did. While maybe not as rare as a golden tongue, finding a beautifully preserved offering table was highly significant. Such tables, often laden with food and drink like ancient bread, vases that once contained beer, wine, honey. These were offerings crucial for supplying the deceased in the afterlife. Their presence at a burial site is a strong indicator that the individuals interred there were of high status, powerful, or wealthy individuals, not common people. All these finds, taken together, further reinforce the importance and elevated status of the burials at Tapuceris Magna. They painted a picture of a community of means, deeply connected to religious practices and potentially to the royal house itself.
Fascinating stuff. But let's broaden our view beyond Cleopatra and explore some of the other incredible queens of ancient Egypt whose stories are just as compelling, if not more so, and whose fates are still debated today. We simply have to talk about Nefertiti.
Nefertiti, yes, arguably one of Egypt's most enigmatic and iconic queens, instantly recognizable from her magnificent, world-renowned bust. Yet, despite her fame, her tomb, much like Cleopatra's, remains a complete mystery, eluding archaeologists for centuries. The search for her has been a major, often frustrating focus for many Egyptologists, discovering it would be one of the greatest archaeological finds of all time.
And her story is inextricably linked to the ruined, ghost-like city of Amarna, isn't it? This was the extraordinary, short-lived capital of Nefertiti and her husband Akhenaten, a vast, purpose-built city, home to up to 50,000 people at its peak, rising seemingly overnight from the desert sands.
Amarna was indeed the heart of Akhenaten's radical religious revolution, an unprecedented upheaval. He completely outlawed Egypt's traditional pantheon of gods, particularly the powerful Amun-Ra, replacing them with a singular deity, the sun god Aten. It was a revolutionary monotheistic experiment that shook Egyptian society to its core. In the art from Amarna, we frequently see Akhenaten and Nefertiti depicted in intimate family scenes, often bathing in the sun god's rays, signifying their direct, almost exclusive connection to the new god, and their role as intermediaries between Akhenaten and humanity. This artistic style was as revolutionary as their theology.
And they found the earliest sign of Aten worship at the Gebel el-Silsila quarry, dating back to Akhenaten's early reign, even before he changed his name from Amenhotep V to Akhenaten, meaning spirit of Aten. So it was a very deliberate, planned religious shift, not some spontaneous revelation.
That's a crucial detail. It shows that this was a carefully considered, top-down religious and political project from the very beginning of his reign. But, despite their prominence indeed, because of it, Nefertiti's tomb is elusive. Dr. Anna Stevens, a leading scholar of Amarna, investigated Akhenaten's royal tomb at Amarna, which was badly damaged by flooding centuries ago. She also focused on another prominent yet unfinished chamber nearby that some initially speculated might be Nefertiti's. However, her analysis showed it was not suitable for the burial of a queen, due to its layout and iconography, leading to the enduring question. If she wasn't buried here, then where was she buried? Her fate, after Akhenaten's death, is shrouded in conflicting evidence and theories.
And after Akhenaten's death, there was a massive backlash against their religious revolution, wasn't there? It almost seems like a deliberate attempt to erase them and the entire Atenist period from Egyptian history.
Absolutely. The traditional priesthood, the powerful elites, they reacted with extreme hostility to Akhenaten's radical religious and social changes. There is clear and overwhelming evidence of deliberate attempts to forget Akhenaten's reign. Their names were chiseled out of monuments, faces of both the king and queen were systematically hacked out of tomb reliefs, temple inscriptions, effectively erased from Egyptian history. This makes tracing Nefertiti's ultimate fate and her final resting place even more challenging. There was a concerted effort to remove any trace of her and her husband's revolutionary era.
But there's a truly sensational theory about Nefertiti, isn't there? One that suggests she didn't just disappear or die quietly, but that she actually became pharaoh herself after Akhenaten's death, ruling in her own right.
This is one of the most exciting recent theories in Egyptology, proposed by Egyptologist Chris Naunton based on a meticulous re-examination of settled evidence. He focused on a piece of graffiti found in the tomb of the priest Pieri, which bears the royal name, Enkiparer Neferneferuket. This name, usually considered to belong to a shadowy, short-lived pharaoh who ruled immediately after Akhenaten, is the crux of the theory. Naunton and others argue that this figure, previously thought to be a male co-regent, is in fact Nefertiti herself, ruling as pharaoh. This would mean she adopted a full pharaonic titulary and ruled as a female king, not just a queen. This dramatically changes the nature of the search for her from merely a queen to a pharaoh, opening up entirely new avenues of inquiry for her tomb.
And this theory ties into some fascinating oddities found in the most famous archaeological discovery of all time, Tutankhamun's tomb in the Valley of the Kings. Tell us about those peculiar inconsistencies.
The oddities of Tutankhamun's small, unusually shaped tomb have long puzzled scholars. Compared to other pharaohs, his tomb is surprisingly small, suggesting it wasn't originally intended for him. The entrance tunnel unusually turns right when the established tradition for male pharaohs dictated a left turn. Even more telling are the nested coffins and sarcophagus, which exhibit distinct feminine features like the double cobras representing the goddesses of Upper and Lower Egypt, and vulture headdresses, motifs more commonly associated with female royalty or goddesses. And most famously, his magnificent golden death mask, one of the most iconic artifacts of ancient Egypt, has faint, almost invisible earring holes, which were typically only present on masks for queens or goddesses, not male pharaohs.
Plus, there are faint traces of Nefertiti's specific cartouche, that distinctive oval hieroglyphic enclosure, signifying a royal name, the very name Enkiparer Neferneferuket, hidden beneath Tut's name on the shoulder of the mask. That's an incredible, almost chilling detail to find on such a famous artifact.
It is. The prevailing theory, which has gained considerable traction, is that Tutankhamun, who died remarkably young and unexpectedly at perhaps 18, was buried in a hurried, makeshift fashion. His original, smaller tomb might not have been ready, so he was interred in a tomb that had already been prepared for someone else, specifically his stepmother, Nefertiti. This would explain the hodgepodge of items found within, a collection of objects hastily assembled and perhaps repurposed for his burial. If true, it means that Nefertiti's tomb, or at least a significant part of what was intended to be her tomb, might have been found already, and we've been looking at it all along without fully understanding its original occupant. It truly puts a new lens on one of the most famous archaeological sites in the world.
Wow. So the search for Nefertiti could ultimately mean uncovering an even bigger secret within one of the most famous archaeological sites in the world, perhaps hidden in plain sight. But Nefertiti wasn't the first woman to hold such immense power, and certainly not the only one to challenge the patriarchal norms of ancient Egypt. We also have Hatshepsut, who truly redefined what it meant to rule Egypt by outright becoming king.
Hatshepsut was truly revolutionary, a towering figure in Egyptian history. She was only the second woman known to have become pharaoh, and the first in nearly 300 years, shattering deeply entrenched traditions that dictated male rulers. Her very existence as a pharaoh challenged the fundamental concept of kingship.
And her ascension was quite a power play. She was the firstborn daughter of a pharaoh, Thutmose III, then later married to the next, Thutmose II. But when her husband died, the only male heir was her infant nephew, Thutmose III. She began, quite traditionally, as his co-regent, but then after 7 years made the unprecedented, audacious move to declare herself king, not just regent. How did she legitimize such a radical seizure of power?
To legitimize her truly revolutionary rule, Hatshepsut employed a sophisticated propaganda campaign. She had herself portrayed as a man in statues and temple reliefs, complete with a false, braided divine beard, the traditional crook and flail of pharaohs, even identical crowns and kilts to Thutmose III. Without the accompanying hieroglyphic inscriptions explicitly identifying her, it becomes nearly impossible to distinguish her from a male pharaoh in these depictions. This wasn't about gender identity, it was about embodying the very essence of kingship, which was inherently masculine in Egyptian theology. She also fabricated a divine birth narrative, claiming the god Amun-Ra himself had impregnated her mother, solidifying her divine right to rule.
And her reign, despite these challenges to tradition, was marked by incredible prosperity and monumental building campaigns. She truly left an indelible mark on the landscape of Egypt.
She certainly did. Her 22-year reign was one of peace and immense prosperity. She oversaw successful military campaigns, strategically re-established vital international trade routes, bringing back exotic goods like frankincense and myrrh from Punt, and launched the most ambitious building project since the Old Kingdom. She constructed giant monuments across Egypt, from Karnak to Thebes, all designed to project her absolute control and legitimize her revolutionary reign. She was a prolific builder, and her work was a direct statement of power.
The Gabel el Silsila quarry is a prime example of the sheer scale of her ambition. John and Maria Ward have excavated this site, which supplied a vast amount of stone for her projects.
Indeed. John and Maria Ward, who've dedicated years to excavating this massive sandstone quarry, have shown that Hatshepsut orchestrated the removal of hundreds of thousands of tons of sandstone from Gebel el Silsila. It was an industrial operation on a scale rarely seen before her time. They found incredible everyday artifacts like a worker's plumb bob, a simple tool used to ensure vertical alignment perfectly preserved from 3,000 years ago, giving us a tangible link to the laborers. They also found small talatat blocks weighing only about 60 kilograms, which could be quarried and built faster. A construction technique that was incredibly efficient and later became characteristic of Akhenaten's period, actually.
And in a remarkable discovery, they found a miniature cryosphinx, a sphinx with a ram's head, affectionately nicknamed the Child, and a nearly 10-foot-high unfinished ram-headed sphinx, dubbed Sphinxy. They later found a matching sphinx at Karnak Temple, confirming the link through style and even minute details like black inclusions in the sandstone. This suggests Hatshepsut started the concept of the Avenue of Sphinxes, stretching nearly 2 Niles between Karnak and Luxor, a truly monumental undertaking.
That discovery was a critical piece of the puzzle, revealing her grand vision. It connects her specific building ambitions directly to these specific quarries and projects, showing the incredible, almost unimaginable scale of her vision for Egypt. It also ties into Patrick Chudsik's investigation of Hatshepsut's magnificent mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahari, one of the most stunning architectural achievements of ancient Egypt.
He noted that she strangely preserved an ancient tomb beneath her own mortuary temple. That seems an unusual choice for such a powerful new construction.
It does, and it reveals a clever strategic move. The discovery of Hathor amulets from Hatshepsut's era in that old tomb proved its continued use in the Hathor cult, a deeply venerated goddess often depicted as a cow. This suggests Hatshepsut deliberately chose to build her monumental temple there, due to the valley's ancient, pre-existing links with the cow goddess Hathor, who was believed to bestow the divine power to rule. By incorporating this ancient cult into her new temple, Hatshepsut was not only projecting masculine power by depicting herself as king, but also subtly leveraging and promoting the feminine power embodied by Hathor. It was a sophisticated and strategic move to further legitimize her revolutionary rule in the eyes of her subjects and the gods themselves.
And sadly, like Akhenaten and Nefertiti, Hatshepsut faced an attempt at erasure from history.
Unfortunately, yes. After her death, her stepson, Thutmose III, who had been overshadowed by her for decades, later had her names and images systematically hacked out from monuments, statues, temple reliefs across Egypt. This was a deliberate damnatio memoriae, an attempt to erase her memory from history and ensure the throne for his son, cementing his own legacy. Yet despite these attempts, Hatshepsut endures as one of Egypt's most powerful, successful, and truly revolutionary rulers, a testament to her enduring impact.
But not all queens ruled from the throne as pharaohs, or attempted to. Take Nefertari, the beloved wife of Ramses Great, Ramses II, who ruled Egypt for an astonishing 60 years. Her power was of a very different sort, but no less significant.
Nefertari wielded immense influence, yes, but not from the throne directly. She operated more from behind it. She was Ramses II's chief consort, renowned for her beauty, intelligence, and diplomatic skills. She engaged in astute diplomacy, exchanging letters and gifts with other powerful queens of the Near East, forging alliances, helping to maintain peace. Her political influence was profound, helping to shape Egypt's foreign policy and internal stability. Her power was that of a trusted advisor, a skilled negotiator, a cultural icon. In stark contrast to Hatshepsut's direct, overtly masculine rule as king. Her tomb in the Valley of the Queens is one of the most beautifully decorated in Egypt, a testament to her importance and Ramses' devotion.
And then there's Queen Setebor, whose discovery in Saqqara by Mohammed Megahed's team truly expanded our understanding of female power way back in the Old Kingdom.
This discovery was truly groundbreaking. Mohammed Megahed's team unearthed the pyramid and funerary temple of Queen Setebor in Saqqara, and the sheer scale of it was unprecedented for a queen. It was the biggest pyramid and funerary temple built for a queen in the Old Kingdom. This alone was a major reevaluation of royal female status.
And the most incredible part, they discovered her serdab. Explain what a serdab is and why finding one for a queen is so revolutionary.
Right, the serdab. It's a small, sealed chamber, usually found within a pharaoh's funerary complex, specifically designed to house a statue of the deceased. This statue served a profound religious purpose. It was believed to be an alternative dwelling for the Ka, or life force of the deceased. If the mummy was damaged, the Ka could inhabit the statue, allowing the deceased to continue to receive offerings and interact with the living. The fact that Setibor, a queen, had one, makes her the first queen to build one. This is not just a symbol of status, it's a radical statement. It directly indicates she claimed privileges, theological rights, funerary provisions that were previously believed to be exclusively reserved for kings, for pharaohs themselves. It suggests she was one of the most illustrious queens of ancient Egypt, pushing the boundaries of what a queen could achieve and command, fundamentally reshaping our understanding of female power dynamics in the Old Kingdom.
Wow. These queens, whether ruling as pharaohs, influencing from behind the throne, or commissioning unprecedented monuments that mimicked kings, they continually challenge our previous understanding of gender roles and power dynamics in ancient Egypt. Their stories are being rewritten right before our eyes.
They absolutely are. It just underscores the vital role of archaeology in uncovering the truth beyond the often biased historical texts.
It's clear that none of these incredible historical and archaeological insights would be possible without the relentless, often grueling work of archaeologists themselves. Let's pull back the curtain a bit and look at the archaeological process itself, the techniques, the challenges, and the unique insights it provides beyond the headlines of major finds.
Yeah, the reality of excavation is far from glamorous. It's incredibly hard, often tedious work. Teams spend countless hours clearing away centuries of sand and debris, toiling in the intense heat of the Egyptian desert where temperatures can soar. They manually move immense, one-ton sandstone, blocks a process that still often involves traditional chants of hey-a-ho to coordinate their efforts, echoing across the millennia. And despite modern advancements, they still rely on surprisingly basic but essential tools like delicate brushes for intricate work and shovels for broader excavation. It's a meticulous, physically demanding labor of love.
And the dangers are very real too, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's not just about finding treasures, it's a high-stakes job where lives are often on the line.
Absolutely. The dangers are ever present. There's the constant risk of collapsing shafts or unstable ancient structures that could give way at any moment. Working with ancient human remains also poses biohazards, as pathogens from millennia ago can still be present. Then there are the environmental hazards, extreme heat, and as we discussed, venomous snakes that often seek refuge in these cool, undisturbed underground spaces. And for many teams, the constant threat of permit expiry hangs over their heads, forcing them to work at an unrelenting pace, knowing their time is finite.
One of the most persistent problems, especially in coastal areas like Alexandria, is groundwater and rain, which can literally wash away years of work.
It's a relentless battle. Calliope Limnios Papacosta, an archaeologist working in Alexandria, has been battling floodwaters for over a decade, with sophisticated pumping systems constantly running to keep her sites dry. Similarly, at Taposiris Magna, Kathleen Martinez's team faced a critical crisis when a vital water pump broke down during a crucial dig, threatening to submerge recently uncovered human remains. It immediately turned into rescue archaeology, a desperate race against time to salvage the fragile evidence before it was lost to the encroaching water table. This constant fight against the elements is a fundamental part of working in these ancient environments.
The meticulous documentation process is also critically important, isn't it? Every single stone, every fragment, no matter how small, has to be carefully cataloged.
It is absolutely foundational to archaeology. Every single stone, every fragment, even seemingly insignificant black stones that might later be identified as part of Roman street cobbles in Alexandria, must be painstakingly documented, photographed, drawn, mapped in 3 dimensions. This meticulous process allows archaeologists to reconstruct the past with incredible accuracy, piecing together the intricate puzzle of ancient life one small fragment at a time, even when the original context is long gone. This is how they differentiate between, say, a natural rock and a piece of ancient construction.
And often these fragments include human remains, which tell their own powerful stories about ancient life, death, and belief. They find mummies in various states, some intact, others scattered by ancient robbers, but each one is a direct line to the past. What do these funerary practices tell us?
Oh, the discoveries are incredibly varied and profoundly insightful. At Taposiris Magna, as we discussed, they found mummies with gold-plated skulls. This wasn't necessarily a sign of perfect mummification. Often it was a decoration compensating for a poor quality of mummification internally during that later Ptolemaic period. It was about presenting an opulent appearance for eternity. And then there's the unique discovery of a 22-carat golden tongue in a man's mouth. This practice reflects a deeply profound belief system. The Egyptians believed the ability to speak was crucial for the deceased, to answer questions from the gods, to recite spells for safe passage, and to interact with the divine realm. A gold tongue ensured that this power, quite literally, endured for eternity.
And they also found offerings buried with the deceased, like ancient bread and vases that once contained beer, wine, honey, providing sustenance for the afterlife.
Exactly. These grave goods were not merely symbolic, they were seen as essential provisions for the deceased journey and continued existence in the afterlife. The analysis of these human remains is where forensic anthropology comes in, a vital scientific discipline. Experts like Abdullah work meticulously on skull structures, skeletal remains, to determine critical information like age and gender, for instance, identifying an adult male around 50 years old. Suzanne Onstein, another archaeologist, works with mummified body parts, sometimes separated, including separated penises and carefully wrapped packets of internal organs placed back inside bodies. She famously noted the intriguing case of King Tut's missing penis, which hadn't been robbed, but had simply fallen off the body and been found within the sarcophagus.
That's certainly an unexpected detail. But Suzanne Onstein also made a dramatic discovery about childbirth mortality, didn't she? A very poignant human story from antiquity.
A truly profound and sobering discovery. She uncovered the remains of a woman who, based on clear anatomical evidence, had died within 24 hours of childbirth. This tragic find vividly illustrates the very real and mortal dangers women faced during antiquity, where childbirth was a leading cause of death. It brings a deeply human element to the dry bones of history. Martina Bardanova's findings of high-quality cartonnage masks and child burials from the Middle Kingdom also provide incredible insight. These were higher-status burials, even for children, indicating that wealth and social standing were reflected in funerary practices regardless of age.
And modern non-invasive techniques are truly revolutionizing this analysis, allowing them to learn so much without disturbing the fragile remains, like CT scans.
This is where cutting-edge technology merges with ancient history. Alejandro, for example, undertook fascinating nighttime missions, carefully transporting fragile mummies to local hospitals for CT scans. This non-invasive method allows archaeologists to create detailed 3D images of the mummies, revealing their age, gender, any pathologies, diseases they suffered from, even the potential cause of death, all without the need to unwrap or damage the incredibly fragile ancient remains. It's a respectful and scientifically rigorous approach.
And through one of those CT scans, they made the thrilling discovery of an elaborate scarab beetle amulet symbolizing rebirth, still in its original position over the heart. That must have been an incredible moment.
It's truly incredible, isn't it? To see such a personal, intimate detail, a protective amulet placed over the heart, believed to weigh the soul in the afterlife, perfectly preserved and revealed by technology after thousands of years. The painstaking process of extracting fragile cartonnage death masks is also vital. These masks, made of plaster-soaked linen or papyrus molded to the face of the deceased, were believed to help the spirit remember its physical form in the afterlife. They often contain hieroglyphs for the deceased's name, like Seti Hakaibi a Inet, providing critical identification.
M.B. Sim's discovery of a fragmented but still beautiful Greek portrait, painted with hot beeswax onto wood, depicting a woman from Cleopatra's time, that suggests how traditions blended culturally.
It absolutely does. These Fayum portraits, as they are known, were typically placed over the face of the mummy. Bassim's discovery is particularly significant because it shows that this tradition of strikingly lifelike, individualized portraits, a Greek artistic convention, continued and blended seamlessly with the Egyptian tradition of mummification during the Ptolemaic period. It's a powerful visual testament to the cultural fusion that defined Cleopatra's era, where Greek and Egyptian traditions intertwined in life and death.
And the uniqueness of these discoveries, especially when they find untouched material, is truly priceless, isn't it? It's the ultimate dream of any archaeologist.
Absolutely. Finding intact coffins, undisturbed burials, or unlooted chambers is incredibly rare. Consider that only about 1 in 20 people in ancient Egypt could even afford a coffin, let alone an elaborate burial. So to unearth material that hasn't been disturbed or looted for thousands of years is indeed the archaeologist's ultimate dream. It's in these untouched contexts that we find the most pristine, unvarnished truths that can truly rewrite history, offering new perspectives on lives lived long ago.
What an incredible journey we've taken through the lives of Cleopatra, Nefertiti, Hatshepsut, Nefertari, and even Setebor. We've seen their immense power, their cunning, their resilience, and the enduring mysteries that still surround them, even after millennia. It's clear how archaeology, through its relentless and meticulous work, continues to rewrite history, piece by painstaking piece, bringing these monumental figures back to life for us, our generation.
And many secrets remain hidden, waiting for the right moment, the right technology, or the right archaeologist. Kathleen Martinez believes she is closer than ever to finding Cleopatra's tomb, a quest that could redefine an entire era. The hunt for Amenhotep continues in the Valley of the Kings. Muhammad Megahead is still searching for Cui's missing wife, while Calliope tirelessly searches for Alexandria's royal quarter, buried beneath modern construction. The work goes on.
It's an ongoing, dangerous, and incredibly exciting quest that continues to unfold right before our eyes. So as we wrap up this deep dive, consider this. Our understanding of history's most powerful figures, especially women, is continually shaped and reshaped. It's not just by the ancient texts that survive, often written by victors or those with biases, but by the relentless, often dangerous, and always meticulous work of archaeologists, revealing new, tangible evidence for the sands of time. What other lost figures, what other hidden truths might still be waiting to tell their true stories, just beneath the surface?
And how much more of the past might still lie buried beneath our feet, waiting for us to ask the right questions and apply the right tools to uncover it.
That's a profound thought to ponder. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've gained a renewed appreciation for the extraordinary queens of ancient Egypt and the dedicated people working to bring their stories and their enduring legacies to light.